quorum here, so we will go ahead and call the May 5th TTAC meeting to order. First item on the agenda are the minutes from the April 7th meeting. If there's no questions, I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve by Ryan Fellows.
And do we have a second?
Second, Tom Rushlow, Elkhart County.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Minutes are approved. We'll jump right into the secretary's report with James.
The overall report here is that there are April administrative modifications. They were sent out in advance of the meeting with your packet, as well as they are posted online. Just to help everyone recall, administrative modifications are changes that the TTAC and the policy board have allowed staff to make outside of board meetings. They're typically smaller in nature, and they do not require any actions by the boards, but all of those can be found online, and you can see the listings for April. That would conclude the secretary's report for this month.
Thanks, James. Any old business?
There's no old business, only new business today.
All right, then let's jump right into the new business.
Sorry about that, everybody. Good morning. We start actually with resolution 2421. Sorry that this says 1921, but this is resolution 2421. It has two items in Elkhart County. Item A is a project that was awarded during the 2026 INDA Rural Call. Again, it's in Elkhart County on County Road 36 over Yellow Creek. This is adding PE, right-of-way, and construction into the tip. Moving on into item B, we have an increase in federal funds on the County Road 40 project in Elkhart County. That starts at State Road 19 through County Road 7. It's an increase of about $750,000. Are there any questions on resolution 2421? If not, I would ask for your endorsement of that.
Brent Warren, so moved.
Tom Rushlow, Elkhart County, seconds.
All those in favor of resolution 24-21?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? If not, the resolution is endorsed.
All right, today we are going to do a brief presentation to recap all that was 2020 and to bring the Transportation Technical Advisory Committee up to speed on everything that was accomplished in 2020 and to highlight that for all of you. So just to get us started, obviously 2020, we all experienced the worst pandemic that the world has seen in more than a century. But in the face of that disaster, we did see as a country and then as an organization, grace and sacrifice and hope, as well as then thematically for us and for many, it was a year of pivots. So if we move forward on the next slide, I don't think anyone was anticipating coming into 2020 that we would do many of the things that we did. We had some really great plans laid out for things that we had accomplished in 2020, but the best laid plans of mice and men oft go awry. And so 2020 was a year of trying to figure out how to keep everything moving forward and how to kind of rise to the occasion to meet the needs and to continue programs moving forward. And there's a small measure of pride that I have in just how all of our staff worked so hard to continue to keep essential programs moving forward, delivering services and being a resource for the region on many of our different programs. And I want to turn it over to them to walk through what those highlights were in 2020.
Good morning. I think I'll kick off the transportation side of some of the work we do. And as some might say, the big wheel keep on turning. And fortunately, we're able to continue a lot of the work that we do on an annual basis in transportation. Many of our technical services and support for your projects and funding applications were able to continue last year. There were a variety of funding opportunities that happened in 2020, including MACOG's call for projects for funding in the urbanized area. We had NDOT's notice of funding for rural area projects, as well as the Community Crossings Matching Grant program for preservation projects. And through these opportunities, over 50 million was awarded in our region. Last year, continuing a much needed investment in our transportation network. And then even though many of our meetings and coordination turned virtual, such as quarterly tracking, we are still able to get out and about throughout the community, be it rating payment conditions to kind of support asset management plans, or as well as conducting churning and traffic movement counts to support traffic studies and further technical assistance. And an interesting note is over the past several years, we've been able to increase the number of video counts that we've taken. And in 2020, they accounted for 2/3 of the total locations of counts that we did. So we still had to adjust some of our transportation work for last year, and Elena is going to speak about some of the impacts made in active transportation.
Yes, good morning. So we had started off 2020 with the exciting prospect of hosting a league cycling instructor seminar, which had allowed us to train up to 8 people for being able to teach bicycle safety to all ages and throughout the region. And we had been hoping to get these going in the summer and fall of 2020. We did have to quickly pivot from that original plan. We put a pause on our seminar until 2021. But even then, we were still able to train 180 school-age children over the summer, thanks to a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club. So it wasn't the original plan, but it was still a success, and we're looking forward to 2021 and what we'll be able to accomplish then. And I did want to make a quick note as well as another positive impact from 2020 was the increased demand for bicycle and pedestrian activities. We had trail counters out, and we were able to count on 7 of them. And an exciting stat, in August of 2020, we counted 14,630 users on the LaSalle Trail, and that's a comparison to 6,036 in August of 2019. And so now you'll be hearing from Transit and how they pivoted in 2020.
So the Interurban Trolley began the year in 2020 with high aspirations after 2019's ridership was the highest in 5 years. We were thinking about looking at expansion, particularly in the city of Goshen. In March 2020, as COVID arrived in the region, we pivoted to focusing on transit roles as an essential service throughout this crisis. To promote social distancing, we began requiring rear door boarding and waived fares. Fares were not reinstated until this past February 2021, after permanent driver barriers were installed in the trolley, that these will promote driver safety even after the COVID-19 pandemic social distancing requirement subsides. In addition, we bought tons of PPE, primarily using our infusion of 100% federal CARES Act money, which meant we didn't have to really think about the budget in transit this year as we weathered the crisis. As local, state, and federal regulations changed, we also pivoted from first recommending passengers wear face coverings to requiring them, and we'll continue to require face masks until at least September 2021, based on the current FTA Transit Security Administration directive for all drivers and passengers on board the interurban trolley. In fall of 2020, as we got into the new rhythm of managing an essential transit service in the times of COVID, we returned to looking at expanding trolley service in Goshen, with the Goshen Transit Survey that saw over 240 respondents list their proposed destinations and needs for transit service in the city of Goshen. And now I will turn it over to Tiara, who will go through the ridership numbers in more detail for transit.
Yes, hello everyone. So as you can see here on this chart, the interurban trolley fixed route service had a total of 380,000 passenger boardings, with the interurban trolley access service providing over 28,800 trips. Overall, trolley ridership for the system was down about 13% compared to 2019, obviously because of COVID and its impacts it had on the service. However, after conversations with other local transit agencies within the region, we saw that trolley ridership actually was higher than most, and that was a good thing to see, because overall on the national level, ridership was down about 60%. And if you look at the chart, you can see where ridership began to take that huge dip after the onset of COVID-19 in March 2020. But then if you look to the next few months, between April to July, you can see that ridership picked back up. And this happened shortly after Transco, who jointly operates the interurban trolley yellow line, announced that they would be reducing their weekday service to running on their Saturday service schedule, about 6 days per week. So we wanted to keep the yellow line running efficiently, so we extended that yellow line route from downtown Elkhart to Mission Walk and Transit Center, but then we moved it all the way to the downtown South Bend South Street station, and we believe that played a part in the increase in ridership for those 3 months from April to July. And then moving on into the months of August and October, after Stage 5 was implemented and things began to open back up in the state, we saw our ridership levels come back to normal levels that we were seeing back in 2019. So that was also a good thing to note. And then, of course, leading into the final 2 months of the year, with all the holidays and then that spike of COVID numbers coming back into play, it brought forth more restrictions for us and caused ridership to take a dip once again. So overall, ridership for 2020, and I believe for everyone, had its ups and downs. We are bouncing back slowly to maintain that regular level of ridership that we're used to, and hoping to keep it going for moving forward for 2021. And now we'll move on to Leah with sustainability.
Hi, and unfortunately, Leah was not able to join today, so I will take her updates for 2020. It was a really great year for the sustainability and their work, primarily in looking at the Brownfield grant, which we received in 2019. We were able to do a lot of work. We spent $380,000 of that grant, and to do phase 1 and phase 2 assessments of much needed worked in brownfield development in our local communities. We also was able to kind of pivot the public engagement for those some of those properties in our plan itself to moving those to be online. So we had 70 people be able to join 3 different virtual events, which was really great to see, again, across the region, be able to engage people on this important topic. We were also able to, with our partners at the South Shore Clean Cities group, be able to secure some grants for some green fleet improvements. These were types of projects like CNG buses and electric buses for some schools, some diesel upgrades on other fleets as well. So that was really exciting also to see. And then kind of the last major highlight was continuing work in the solar work. St. Joe County became the 7th MACOG community to earn the Soul Start designation. And so they also took a big emphasis on doing some pollinator-friendly regulations and development in their ordinance as well. So we're really happy to see that recognition. And then from here, I'll turn things over to Matt with the River Basin.
Thanks, Zach. Good morning, everybody. I recognize I may be one of the least known MACOG staff for this group here, and so I thought just a quick introduction just to let you all know, if you didn't already, that MACOG provides a staffing solution for the St. Joe River Basin Commission, and has since the 1980s when it was created by the Indiana General Assembly. The St. Joe River Basin Commission was created to address water quality as well as quantity and flooding issues throughout the basin. That basin actually extends beyond the MACOG region and includes 3 additional counties to our east. But we like to think that a lot of the work that we do, even out in LaGrange and Steuben County, has an impact on us here in the region because we're trying to keep water stored on the landscape and keep it from rushing down and flooding out our communities down here. So anyway, just to highlight a few things that we included in the annual report this year, we were fortunate enough to bring some additional help on in the fall. Had 2 interns that were great and kind of worked with us on some programs, which included installing some stream gauges upstream, again, outside the MACOG region, but within an important part of the Elkhart River watershed. This is the north branch of the Elkhart, which has experienced a lot of flooding issues, and the folks up there in Noble County really had some concerns about how to better manage their resource. So we helped them with a study, which included installing some new gauges. And then we've also been working with the county surveyor in LaGrange County on basically creating an incentive for conservation in some of our regulated ditches and drains, analyzing the kind of land cover that's being used and adjusting the apportionment to basically provide an incentive for folks to store water on their property. And then the last thing that we wanted to mention was an exciting project that has had an impact here in the region, and that was we got a large Great Lakes Restoration Initiative grant to work with 6 communities throughout the basin on improving their urban tree canopy. So we analyzed where additional trees could be planted that would have the most impact on uptaking stormwater. And then we actually got funds to purchase 50 trees for each of these communities, large trees. And we just got done planting 50 of them over in Middlebury last weekend, and we're going to have some going in Syracuse probably later this year. So it's been an exciting project, and glad to share some of these things with you guys. So I don't know who's next, but I'll turn it over to whoever it goes to.
Thanks, Matt. This is Danya Ritzma, Senior Community Development Planner for the MACOG. And so one of the things I really want to highlight that supported us to increase our technical services and capabilities, we applied for an EDA grant and was awarded $400,000. This was a great opportunity to help our communities seek more competitive federal and state grants, particularly for EDA and OKRA resources. Additionally, this helped us hire a new community development planner. Many of you may or may not have met, but Brett Roberts. And so look forward to seeing him for assistance on grant resources in the future. And a couple other points additionally I want to make is we were able to assist more communities to develop their comprehensive plans and park master plans. And we were able to continue these processes, much like you all have seen with transitioning to convene meetings and public engagement efforts, conducting those online. And then lastly, I wanted to highlight, we have also partnered with Kosciuszko County and its communities to help them create a unified multi-jurisdictional comprehensive plan. So we're excited to work with them on this opportunity to help them create a unified vision to guide future growth in Kosciuszko County. And then I'll turn it over to Katie Dominguez, who will share our activities on social media.
Yep. Thanks, Danny. So it was very important to keep active on social media in 2020. We began the MACOG Facebook page in 2018, and it has been consistently growing since. We previously had a LinkedIn account, but began posting more regularly in 2020. And with that, we grew our social media by 30%. And then along with Facebook and LinkedIn, we also began using our MACOG YouTube page. And we had to adapt the way we reached the public during our TTAC and policy board meetings. So we began live streaming the meetings from there. And then another way we engage and communicate with the public is through our newsletter, the MACOG Gazette. This newsletter previously was printed and mailed out quarterly, but we had to rethink it in 2020, and we pivoted to a bi-weekly digital newsletter that is emailed to subscribers, as well as posted on our MACOG website. And then, so with this change, we're able to communicate more information more frequently and at a less of a cost as well. And now I'll turn it over to Zach.
Great, thanks, Katie. So, and kind of other highlights with our in the office. Again, as Donnie mentioned, we did hire a new staff member. Brett Roberts joined us staff and as in the community development office. So really glad to have him on and onboard him during the COVID pandemic was really a fun experience as well. And then each year in the annual review, we like to highlight our years of service of each of our staff member, because we are really excited and proud of how engaged our staff is and how long they've dedicated their service here to our region. Kind of highlights this year, Donnie had reached a 5-year service here at MACOG, and Carla has been with us for 10 years. So really, again, thank them and everyone else for their years of service. And the last item is every 4 years, we are reviewed by the Federal Highway Administration to certify our planning process, and this was 2020 was our review year, and so we had to pivot the typical work with that, and again do this all virtual, and so we held some virtual public meetings with that, and we had several presentations and discussions with the reviewers. That way, we were pleased to report that came back with 6 commendations and just 10 recommendations, but no corrective actions. So they really enjoyed learning about what we're doing here, and it was a first for their experience, and they used us as a pilot for other reviews throughout the year in the Midwest. So again, we were really excited to see that outcome as well. And from here, we'll turn it back over to James.
Yeah, last but not least, in 2020, it was going to be a very celebratory year because MACOG was turning 50 years old or 50 years young, depending on how you want to look at it. The organization was formed in 1970, and we had planned various ways that we would be celebrating our history as an organization and embracing kind of that milestone of 50 years young. We didn't get to have birthday cake or have big, large gatherings in person. So we did choose to still celebrate that history by sharing various facts and celebrating various milestones about the organization online through our social media. So hopefully more people got to see that by engaging online than maybe would have at the in-person events. But the work of MACOG, that was the reason we were formed in 1970 to address regional issues, is still what motivates us and moves us forward today. And we look forward to celebrating at least another 50 years moving forward. I'd also just like to take a personal moment to thank all of our staff for the grace and positivity that they approached 2020 with. It was an extremely challenging year, but our staff completely rose to the occasion and adapted or pivoted to meet the needs of our local governments and the needs of the organization, whether it was working at home while your kids were e-learning or reconnecting back in the office. Everything was met with various challenges in 2020, but you all stayed together as a team and continued to deliver the vital programs that we offer. And I just want to take a moment to thank all of you for the accomplishments that we did see in 2020 and look forward to the success of 2021. That would conclude our recap of 2020. So if there are any questions, we can field any questions over the year of if you saw anything related to any of the programs that you had questions about. Otherwise, we will be publishing a full report that should be coming out next week for the annual review of 2020.
This is Ryan Fellows. I just want to say how much I appreciate everyone's work, and obviously, 2020, as everyone says, and it's so true, brought a lot of difficulty and stress, but there's also been perseverance and still a lot to be proud of everyone for, whether you're thinking of the Soul Smart or keeping the trolley service going with changes, or all the great work that we're doing in community development or stormwater for the basins. I can't hit everyone, but I'm thinking of everyone, and it's all appreciated, and thank you.
Yeah, I would just echo some of the same comments as well. I mean, it certainly was a challenging year for all of us, but it's great to see that MACOG was able to keep things moving forward and still accomplish and not let a pandemic slow down. So congratulations to everybody. Job well done.
Thank you. Next, we will move over to the staff update just to let you know about different grants and programs. So the first one, since Leah's not able to join us, wanted to make sure that you're aware, IDEM has the Volkswagen Round 3 funding. If you were able to join us for the Partners for Clean Air program, Sean Seals from IDEM was there, talked about the Volkswagen program and kind of what they're expecting out of Round 3. Applications are due June 1st. So that is fast approaching. So if you do have potential projects, please be reaching out to Leah or the folks at South Shore Clean Cities so that we can assist. Next, just to make you aware, the 2021 Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity grant program has been announced. For those not familiar, this is a rebranding of a previous program. It has been called Tiger. It has been called, I can't even remember the previous version, if it was Infra or Build. Was this one Build? Yeah. So it was Tiger, it was Build, and now it's Raise. So the Tiger builds raises, I guess. But this is a larger discretionary grant program. It would have similar flavors to Build and Tiger, a little bit of different emphasis areas, but this is a national competitive program. So wanted to make you aware that that is out right now. Ryan, do you have what the due date is for the Raise grant?
I'm sorry, I don't, not off the top of my head, but I can, oh, go ahead.
It is July 12th is when everything's due.
Right. So I know because of the different emphasis areas and just like always, USDOT has been doing a series of webinars so that you can get more information, but that would have a July due date. So if you do have those potentially larger projects that would meet those more national objectives and compete on the national scale, let us know, because those applications really need to be developed early and often. Additionally, you'll recall that in the state of Indiana, there is a requirement that there is a State Department that needs to be informed if you're pursuing kind of these outside resources like this in transportation. So there is a small process that would need to be worked through to make sure that you make that kind of declaration known. So we can help you with that, but we want to make sure that folks are aware that that is out right now. Great.
All right, I have a little update for the regional freight mobility plan. In April, we released this RFP. A few weeks ago, we had 2 interviews with 2 firms and ended up selecting HDR to kind of do the planning process for this plan. So we have a kickoff meeting with them next week, and in the coming month or so, we'll be looking to kind of form a steering committee team for this plan. So if you are interested in participating, it should be around an 18-month process. But we'll be seeking some input from TTAC and policy board members on that steering committee.
And just real quick to jump into that, on the regional freight mobility plan, for those not familiar, or just to provide additional context to what Caitlin has already shared with you, the overall plan is focused on developing a regional strategy for freight movement. It'll examine current and kind of future freight issues that the region will be looking at. It'll be developed with the public and private sector coordination, so there'll be input from freight stakeholders and economic development organizations, as well as then the public at large. And the goal is to develop recommendations, priorities, and strategies that will address issues around freight. So those are kind of those high-level bullet points when you're thinking about this plan of what we're seeking to accomplish with this overall planning process. So just wanted to add that extra context for everyone.
Good morning. This is Elena again. I have an exciting update. MACOG is excited to be hosting Crossway Trails Month. This is coming up in July. It'll be a celebration of active transportation in our region's trails as a whole. This is all thanks to a NIPSCO Environmental Action Grant, which will allow us to help fund activities such as a scavenger hunt featuring new trails each week, a mileage challenge, and then the funding will also allow us to purchase some identifying signage with the Crossway Trails logo on it for our trails throughout the region. So as I mentioned, this is coming up in July, and we'll have more exciting details coming up later as we get closer to the date.
Thanks, everyone. Do we have any privilege of the floor or public comments?
There is no public comment. We ask that the public submit comments prior to the meeting, and we have not received any public comments in advance of this meeting.
All right, thank you. If there's no additional business, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Nobody wants to adjourn. It's so much fun.
It's the meeting that never ends.
Chris Jamrose proposed a meeting to adjourn. Man, that was a stumble. Sorry, guys.
Do we have a second?
Second, Kyle Silvius.
All right, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. We're still planning on hosting these meetings virtually. We are going to have a discussion at the policy board this month just about how we approach virtual meetings in the future, as the governor has now signed bills that would allow for virtual meeting continuance in the future. So we'll be in touch more with what that looks like. But just for June, we're going to be planning that the TTAC meeting would be virtual at this time.